What is Okie Poker? What is this new game, Okie Poker? It's a fun game that does what no other non-house back game does. It allows every player except one to win on each hand, unlike Hold'em or Omaha or Stud, which has in most cases only one winner per hand. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's learn what this unique game is about and how your casino will reap a huge profit off every table that's played. Our game is simple, but your players will quickly learn a game filled with nuances that make profitable play even more possible the sooner they learn. After the dealer has dispersed a set of 6 cards to each player, the players must first discard 3 cards and then hold 3 to play. What is the object of the game? It's important that players rethink their normal thought in cards, which is to win the hand or take the tricks. In Okie Poker, it's still important to win the first 2 tricks, but never the final hand. Because in Okie Poker, the only loser after every hand of play is completed is the person who takes the final trick. Now let's see what happens. The player with the button has discarded the 3 diamonds in her original set of 6 cards and has held the ace of spades, king of hearts, and the deuce of clubs. In Okie Poker, play begins with the player on the button, unlike other games where the button is the final player or the dealer, and this will be further demonstrated in a few moments. Having won the first trick, the button player leads again, but in this second hand, look what has happened. A unique and extremely strategic part of Okie Poker. There are 2 jokers in each deck, and they can be played as any card.
Ace of hearts.
Ace of hearts, and that'll be the winner.
In this case, player number 3 has declared his joker to be the ace of hearts. Note that player 6 has played the true ace of hearts. In Okie Poker, a joker played first as an ace beats the suited ace if played later in the trick. Now the winner of the second trick must play first, and in Okie Poker, you better have an out card or you'll be paying every player at the table. Our player lays the 3 of clubs, hoping to get out. Now remember the hand of our button player, which we saw at the beginning of play? The 2 of clubs doesn't take the trick, and player number 3 has to take the trick, thus losing a $5 chip to each of the other players at the table. So let's find out what we're talking about when we see chips won and lost. While every casino will obviously have a right to dictate higher or lower game limits, this is our suggestion for startup play in Okie Poker. For a $100 buy-in of 15 $5 chips and 25 $1 chips, a player is ready to play. In a $135 Okie Poker game, a player places $1 chip on circle 1, 3 chips on circle 2, and in this scenario of 7 players in the game, each player has 6 $5 chips on circle 3. The stack of 6 chips represents the number of opponents at the table. If an 8th or 9th player joins the game, the chips are adjusted accordingly. It is this stack of $5 chips that makes not taking that last trick the key element in Okie Poker. In Okie Poker, players have a chance to win additional money through a Gusher dry hole bonus, which will be explained later. The dealer takes each player's chip from circle 1 as the players contemplate their 3-card discard. Now, once the players have discarded and play has begun, note the dealer has taken one of the chips and placed it in the Gusher dry hole drop. Once the winner of trick 1 has been determined, the dealer gives the chips from the first bet to the winner and immediately secures all second bets and stacks for distribution. Before the second trick begins, the dealer takes 3 chips and places them in the house drop. After the trick is concluded, the chips are given to the winner, leaving the final card to be played.
The ace is going to win that trick. We have a Gusher possibility here. Spade led, and he's going to win that. And can you get out with the deuce of spades? Maybe.
Once the loser of the final trick has been confirmed, the dealer takes his $5 chips and gives 1 each to the other players.
Bonus plays.
In a few moments, we will have a 3-hand sequence played to give you a feel for the game and the fun players can have while playing. But for now, Let's find out a player's option if he doesn't think he has a hand that can allow him a decent chance to avoid taking that final trick. Obviously, you can do the quick math, and a $100 buy-in for a 7-player game would leave you with money for only 3 hands if you happen to quickly lose your first 3 hands due to being forced to play bad cards. So every player at the start of each hand has the option of forfeiting bets 1 and 2 for a $4 loss to prevent the possibility of a $30 payoff, a $5 chip to each of the other 6 players in a 7-player game if you take that final trick. In this scenario, 2 players have opted to fold, leaving only 5 players for the 3 tricks.
We got 5 players.
Now that you've got the basics of Okie poker, before we show you a live play sequence and the feel of the game, let's take a moment to look at some other factors that make this a winner for everyone: players, dealers, and the house. How about those dealers? Are they going to love this game and push it if there aren't tips? Probably not. But will a player tip if he wins the first trick for a net of $5 in a 7-player game? Most likely no. Or if a second trick winner rakes in a $15 profit, yeah, possibly a tip there. But most players will tip if they hit a gusher, which is taking the first 2 tricks and then not taking the third trick, meaning they've made money on every trick. But gushers are not going to happen at a high enough rate to generate sufficient dealer tips. So here's how our game gets the dealer money and spices up play with a player-dealer bonus. This is how the table looked as play was ready to start in our earlier explanation. We purposely left out the player-dealer bonus at that time so we could explain better the Okie poker rules. Now let's see what the table will look like when most players take a chance at a 1,000-to-1 payoff. The table has a B circle at each player position, where every player has a chance to place a quarter at the start of each hand to play. It's not mandatory, but the player is playing for a $250 bonus if he has a specific hand after his 3 cards are discarded from his original 6. If a player holds 2 jokers and the deuce of spades, then he wins the $250 jackpot, providing he is invested in the dealer bonus of 25 cents on that particular hand. Where does the $250 bonus come from, and how often should there be a winner? Well, the bonus money is collected from the first 50 cents at the table, regardless of the number of quarters. The remaining quarters are for the dealer's tip, which should average $20 to $40 an hour, depending on the skill of the dealer.
And we're ready for a lead. The deuce of
Finally, it's time to see what the house gets out of Okie poker, and you are about to see it will be substantial.